Watch closely. We're about to put this new Ford Mustang through its paces. The Mustang interior is completely new. Its controls have been placed within easy reach and designed to be easily operated, all of which allows Mustang to perform beautifully, even standing still. This is the new Mustang.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
My name is Jonathan Hochstatter. I own a 1990 Ford Mustang. It's LX trim. It has the 2.3 liter 140 Lima. It makes 88 horsepower with 135 foot-pound of torque. It comes with a 4-speed automatic transmission. I have overdrive, drive, 2, and 1. So it's a pretty not so exciting car with the power itself. However, with handling and once you get going up to speed, it can really show you that it's still a Mustang, you know what I mean?
Let's see. So the AC is, sometimes it wants to work, sometimes you see, like today it don't. But maybe later it will.
So when I bought it, there was no interior pieces at all in there. The most interior trim it had in there was the driver's seat not being bolted down. And then they have AC switches, but those aren't really a trim piece. After that, I put in the carpet, and then from there I put in the middle console along with the radio, and then I put on a couple dash elements like the steering column shroud, and then I went in like in the back seat, front seats, the door panels, rear interior quarter panels, the headliner. So yeah, I put a few different trim pieces. I still have to put in like the kick panels and whatnot, but I'm working on it as a work in progress.
You want to get any more outside footage?
Yeah, at some point probably, yeah. If you want to bang a right here.
Gotcha.
Well, I remember I got into cars through the 60s, beginning of muscle car era, and I was really into Dodge, Mopar, and Ford and Chevy. Mustangs have always been an iconic car, the staple of the muscle car industry. But once I got introduced to the Fox body generation, it was always just this unappreciated car era. You know what I mean? It's almost like people, a lot of people do appreciate Fox bodies, don't get me wrong, but there's also a big chunk of people that they could look at them and have no idea what they're looking at, People now, like especially the younger generation, when they think of Mustang, they think of the 2004 generation and on, like the newer body style per se. And when you see a Fox body, I know so many people that don't know it's a Mustang, and I tell them and they'd be like, wait, this is a Mustang? And I'm like, yeah. And I think it's kind of just the I don't know, not as popular as like a Skyline GTR, for instance, or like a Toyota Supra or an old Civic. You know what I mean? Like it's not as wanted and desired, but I think Fox bodies were always just kind of this underrated car that people didn't really take seriously. Okay, so I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. When I bought it, I paid $3,500 for the car itself, and then I paid an extra $1,000 for the motor, transmission, front and rear end for the SN95. And the guy himself, he looked rather military-ish, but it was a funny story. He told me he was selling it because his wife was cheating on him with his neighbor, so he was going to move. So he said he was selling everything and leaving. So I got a fair enough price on it, and he told me if I had any problems to bring it back. Good guy, yeah. Oh, so I came to his house, and it was kind of interesting. It was on the water, but it was mainly a plot of land with a little shack at the end, and he had all the Mustang parts in this bus that he had turned into a storage unit almost. It was this bus that had like boards on the windows, and it was painted, and he opened it up, and we go back here, and there's engine and transmission in the back. There's trim parts along the wall. I mean, I'm taking my door panels for my Mustang out, and they look mint stock, but it's just in this dirty old bus, you know. And it's I got everything out of that little bus. I thought that was pretty cool. He had a lot of stuff in there, you know, and he had two SN95s there, and the Fox body that I bought. So it was a fun drive. It was the first time we got it up to 75. Me and my friend in the car on the interstate, and we were like, ah, you know, it's not really meant to go too fast. The dash goes up to 88, but it's just a fun little car to mess around in. Whenever I drive cars now, I find myself like hitting the brake a little too hard, or hitting the gas a little too hard, or taking a turn a little too sharp, because you know it's stock. It's so low to the ground. You know, the handling of it. It's not a lot of body roll. You know, you're getting really good tight, sharp turns, and it's just overall a really good performance car. It's an awesome vehicle. You know, and it's one of those things where it's like it's so old. You have to appreciate it for its value, and it's restoring these things. You can't help but think, who was driving this? You know what I mean? Like I wonder what the fastest it got up to with the previous owner was. You know what I mean? Like I wonder how old that old guy that originally owned it, how fast was he going, and what was he doing in it? You know. And it's pretty cool to think about that, and like all the features being perfect and pristine, and it would have been really cool to be on the dealership test driving it, you know what I mean? I got home that night and I spent probably 6 hours putting it all in. You know, I had to put in the carpet, and then I had to, you know, pull the cords through all the holes and make sure everything electrical was good, and then I had to put in the middle console with the stereo, and you know, the ashtray, cigarette lighter, all that stuff, and seats are nice. And then after that, I put the back seat in, and back seat with the carpet, and yeah, just a few other little trim pieces, you know, the headliner. It was a fun little day. But after, you know, if you feel really accomplished when you look at your car and it's just bare metal and metal on the top, and it's empty, and then you're done, you have front seats, back seats, headliner, carpet, you know, trim pieces. Looks pretty, you know, it's pretty accomplishing feeling. The seats are the most comfortable seats out of anybody in my friend group, I would say. All of my friends tell me that as well. I don't know, they just feel almost like memory foam. Like they were so much ahead of their time. It's very nice seats, I will say that. I have manual seats. I could have power seats in there, but I kind of like the being able to slide it back really quick, or being able to scoot it forward really quick, and just a little bit more convenient for me. To my knowledge, I'm the third owner of the car. So the original owner, he bought it new. He was an older gentleman. He just wanted a Mustang, you know, fuel economy. And then he rear-ended, so he backed into something. And Mustangs that year, they have a feature in the back where it's a safety feature. Whenever you get in a crash, it pops this button down, and it kills the starter on the car, so you can't start the car. And nobody really realized that, and so he wouldn't start for him, and he just parked it. And so when the owner that I got it from, when he finally got it, and you know, who knows when, he pressed the button, and this didn't start, but that's because just the gas was jellified, and he replaced all the fuel things, and it ran. Before I registered the car, the last time it was registered was 2007. So it sat for about 16 years before I registered it, you know? I mean, for him to just replace a few fuel delivery components and for it to run is in and of itself pretty impressive, you know? And for me to use it as a daily for a few thousand miles and to still be doing great, it's also really impressive. So it's pretty reliable, I would say. It's pretty solid daily. From what I've been told, as long as that dash isn't rolled back, which you never know, the body shows no signs of rusting. The frame shows no signs of rusting. A lot of the car itself is structurally sound, and that leads me to believe that the mileage is true. It's just, I think at the moment 37,000 miles, so a pretty low mileage. It's you know, it's kind of one of those 90s car things where it's, before you drive, you have to be told a few things about it, you know what I mean? And it, you know, shifts into reverse a little rough and stuff like that. But overall, it's surprisingly reliable, I would say, for being 33 years old. It's also just iconic. You know, you get in your car and you don't feel like you're in like a new car, and you look at your dash and you kind of reminded that it's like this 80s type vibe, and the glow from the back, it's just that old green, you know what I mean? And when you turn on the AC, you get that old car smell and the presence it puts out. It's a really cool car to be driving around in. For the first week, all I could say is I own a Fox body, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, you just don't believe it. You know, it's a Fox body, and it's one of those cars that, you know, you think about owning, and you never really picture yourself owning like any old car, almost like it was a really cool moment, you know? And then like getting the engine as well, knowing that I'll be able to swap it and have a lot more power and, you know, make my own custom build, make it really unique. I thought that was neat. Right now I have a 2.3 liter 140 Lima engine in there. Those were in the Mustangs from 1980 until 1993. They only make 88 horsepower, but they outsold the 5.0 Mustang 3-1, just because how fuel efficient they were and how cheaper they were. So it's a pretty common car for people to swap with 5.0s actually. First gear, if I'm going 20 miles, if I'm going 15 or 20 miles an hour, first gear, you feel all 88 horses on it. You know, if I'm going like 40 miles an hour, you feel it a little bit in third. But past that, it's not a fast 0 to. I think I've timed my 0 to 60 at 16 seconds. So yeah, it's not a fast 0 to 60, but it's one of those cars that, like, if it's wet outside, you know, it's fun just because you spin tires so light. If you get it on an interstate and you get going, it's just fun to kind of cruise in. So right now the plan is, after I'm finished building the engine, to have about 350 horsepower. I'm going for, you know, around the 300s with foot-pound of torque as well. Right now I have a automatic 4-speed in there, and I'm going to be swapping it with a manual 5-speed transmission, the T5, pretty iconic transmission from a lot of the Mustangs. If it had a 5-speed, it was probably a T5. And it's going to be really fun. I'm going to be putting a clutch in the automatic, which, you know, I'm going to be having to drill some holes. It's going to be a little bit scary, but besides that, it should be pretty solid. I'm excited for the transmission because I've always wanted a manual car. You know, I grew up with my parents owning a manual car, and it's always just, I don't know, for people who have driven manual versus automatic, it feels more like you're in a car when you're driving manual, because, you know, you have more control over what's happening and when it shifts, and you can feel the power almost, and it's a pretty neat feeling. It's one of those things where it's, you could take it to a shop and you could have someone else do it, but it's the fact that, you know, you're working on it, you're getting down with it, and it's your car, and it makes you almost have a connection to the car, you know? It's definitely a learning curve, but it's fun, and it's one of those things where it's like never ending, you know? Like, I'll be on Google looking at a Mustang forum, and I'll be reading about Fox bodies, and it's really cool because you learn things that a lot of people don't know, and you get a really extensive and in-depth knowledge of a car that you own, and you feel almost like included, like it's still brand new, you know what I mean? I would say that I've driven with a few friends, you know. I mean, I've driven with a 94 Corvette, you know, with the LT1 in it. That was insane, you know. He was smoking me, of course, but that was really cool, you know. We could bond over some 90s issues together, you know. And I've driven with a 1983 270 Datsun Z. You know, it's definitely fun to be driving around with other cars from the past and see that, you know, you're not the only one that's putting in these hours and doing this research and buying these trim parts, and, you know, it's really neat. I think that's something people don't really understand. And they're like, why do you drive that car? It always breaks down. It's my car, you know what I mean? It's breaking down because of something I did. I'll fix it, you know? Like, it's really cool feeling to be able to know your car inside and out. It's, with the 5.0 in it, it could hit 140 stock, you know what I mean? We're talking, it's this little thing, you know, you look at it, and I think it's just, it's really cool that, like, they came so powerful, and they can be so powerful, and they can handle all that, but they're also this a hatchback, you know, weighs 2,700 pounds soaking wet, it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna be painting it myself. That's the plan. It's a little scary, but you know, I think if I just have the right environment, have the right tools, you know, practice a little bit, I should be able to do it with no problem. And I'm planning on painting it Daytona Electric Blue. It's this deep, not too dark, not like it's almost like a sapphire blue. Or like a royal blue. It's a pretty mellow color, and it's very iconic to Ford almost. So yeah, and I'm kind of doing that because the original color was ultra blue, so it's not keeping the exact same color, but keeping it blue, as in a blue Mustang. You know, I've thought about other colors such as cherry red or those other, you know, dark red colors or jet black, but I think blue is just going to be the most unique and my personalized, you know, yeah. The only blue option they had was ultra blue, which was this, you can still see it on the car. It's this, you know, dark, almost denim like blue, and they really didn't have a more like electric blue, but that's kind of the vibe I'm going for, is a electric blue. I plan to build it and keep it for as long as I can. You know, it's kind of hard selling cars like that, especially because you hear so many stories about people regretting selling cars like that. And but with that being said, after I'm finished building it and I'm fully completed with it, I could see myself eventually in the future getting rid of it to try and get something a little bit newer, or maybe something else older, you know, or maybe keeping it and getting another vehicle. But I feel as if it doesn't stay with me forever, if it does, it will be one of those garage cars. Hey, I had this in high school, you know what I mean? But if not, I might end up having to get me a newer Mustang, you know? My name is Jonathan Hochstatter. I own a 1990 Ford Mustang. It's LX trim. It has the 2.3 liter 140 Lima. It makes 88 horsepower with 135 foot-pound of torque. It comes with a 4-speed automatic transmission. I have overdrive, drive, 2, and 1. So it's a pretty not so exciting car with the power itself. However, with handling and once you get going up to speed, it can really show you that it's still a Mustang, you know what I mean? Surprises. Yeah, so I had a coolant reservoir leak originally. So my coolant was dry when I bought it. And so we went to Ace and we bought some coolant, and I took it home and I got the funnel and I started putting the coolant in, and I must have put half the gallon in there, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, this doesn't look like it's filling up. And my friend, he's standing next to me and he's like, you might want to stop that. And he points down and there's a big old puddle of coolant on the ground, and I was like, darn.